Donald Trump is moving back into the White House next week, and the ACT Party reckons we're going to have to spend more money on our defence. Donald Trump had this week called for NATO members to increase their defence spending to 5% of their GDP. Yes, 5, not the 2 they'd talked about earlier. And while we're not a NATO member, we are a NATO partner. But currently we spend just 0.9% of our GDP on defence. And Mark Cameron is ACT's defence spokesperson. Hello.
Morning, Tim. How are we?
Good, good. So how much more money are we talking about spending in dollar terms?
Oh, it's about $3.5 billion. It's a significant investment. But I make the point, Tim, we've got to invest in our people and the kit that they use, play our part. We're no longer in this benign state, sadly, as we've seen February 2022 in Ukraine and the Russian invasion, the illegal occupation of a sovereign state has certainly changed the dynamics, and we've got an expansionist autocracies around the world that have become emboldened. I think it's incumbent upon New Zealand to play its part.
Are you worried about Trump telling us off, or are we big enough for him to worry about? Because we're not his poodles, are we?
Not necessarily, but I think we've got to play our part, and sadly, the late 90s and the Clark era, which has certainly spoken to peace as all-encompassing. Is it the case now? And I think we've seen, at risk of litigating the point, these autocracies have now changed the dynamic. The geopolitical tension around the world has changed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like standing up for your own people. And I think it's an incumbence on our crown to spend a bit more on investing in the men and women who wear our national colours every day.
Yeah.
To protect our national interests.
Well, you need to get Nicola on side, don't you? Nicola Willis is not going to be one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
What do you reckon?
And it's moving the needle, Tim. It's moving the needle. I mean, there's genuine savings that can be made through the Treasury. And I think, just a couple of points if I could make them. We've seen what David Seymour's done with the school lunch program. There's a classic example of investing in good ideas. I mean, over 4 years, you would argue there's hundreds of millions of dollars.
That was money saved, though. So we're going to be spending money. How do you think we're going to get that money?
Granted, but then there's also productivity gains that we as New Zealand, we're politically hamstrung at every corner, economically hamstrung equally so. So if we not only save these the sort of investment money that we have made, sometimes in poor decision-making, rush decision-making, and I can think of several of them, scrap fees-free universities, scrap first home grants and film subsidies, etc. Now, that's put out in ACT's alternative budget. But then there's releasing the economy, allowing people to get about their daily lives and get the red tape out of people's lives, and we become a productive society again.
Good stuff.
I think there's an argument to be made.
Good stuff. Well, you better schedule that cup of coffee with Nicola and get in her ear about it. I really appreciate your time this morning. That's Mark Cameron. He's ACT's Defence spokesperson.